It was just another forgotten excavation in the heat of the Judean hills. No headlines, no applause, just dust, stones, and an ancient scroll with an enigmatic promise. But what that team found wasn't just history. It was something untouched, untouchable, and perhaps, alive. A camera stopped working. Equipment shut down. And the bones on the ground were facing the Ark. You're about to discover what governments tried to hide. And why, to this day, no one dares open the chamber again. If you believe that some biblical secrets are still among us, comment below, now. It was never gone. Because the Ark of the Covenant was never lost. It was waiting. And now, it woke up. It began like any other archaeological dig. A discreet group of Israeli and American archaeologists worked in silence, away from the cameras and public interest, in the forgotten hills of Judea. No headlines, no government support. Just an old rumor, an enigmatic scroll that suggested the existence of a secret chamber, hidden beneath the ruins of a forgotten time. Most thought it was just another dead end. Until ground-penetrating radar revealed something unusual. 10 meters below the surface, hidden beneath layers of stone and earth, lay a perfect rectangle, a chamber carved with supernatural precision. Untouched. Untouched for perhaps millennia. The shape, the layout, the dimensions, everything matched ancient descriptions found in biblical texts. And then, in a whisper almost suppressed by the air itself, someone on the team said what no one dared utter aloud. Could this be the Ark? The location was immediately kept secret. They camouflaged the entrance to the chamber, fearing the government would take control and cover up the discovery. But what they found inside surpassed all expectations. It wasn't just ancient, it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The chamber was sealed with thick limestone slabs. They hadn't been touched in centuries, perhaps longer. It took hours to open the vault. When they finally did, time seemed to stand still. Before them lay a golden chest, about 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 2 feet high. Its surfaces gleamed. Intricate winged designs adorned the lid. There was no sign of corrosion. No decay. It was pure gold, untouched by time, as if it had been placed there yesterday. One of the archaeologists reached out. The moment his fingers approached, all the electronics shut down. The cameras stopped recording. The lights flickered. There was no power. The chest seemed to be absorbing everything around it. Some wanted to flee immediately. Others insisted it was just a coincidence. Still, they lifted the object, just enough to confirm their worst fears. It wasn't a replica. It wasn't a fake. It was real. It was then that they noticed an inscription engraved on the base, in ancient Hebrew. But the most disturbing part was yet to come. The inner walls of the chamber were covered in thick, black soot, as if an explosion or violent fire had occurred there. But the Ark was completely intact. No dust, no burn marks, nothing. As if protected by an invisible force while everything around it was destroyed. On the floor at the back of the chamber lay bones. Human skeletons. Some in the fetal position, as if trying to protect themselves. Others sprawled, as if running to escape. But none of them showed any visible signs of injury. Just death. Sudden. Silent. Then someone remembered the old stories. Stories about what happened to those who dared touch the Ark of the Covenant. Legends that always seemed like theological exaggerations, until that moment. The team recoiled. In shock. But before leaving the chamber, they reviewed one of the few remaining analog recordings. That's when they heard something. A faint, almost imperceptible hum. But continuous. Like singing. A murmur no one had heard live, but which now invaded the tape. This hum raised an even more disturbing hypothesis. In the laboratory, scientists tried to analyze the Arkansas. But nothing worked. X-rays, spectrometers, chemical tests, everything failed. The golden alloy on its surface didn't match any known material. The wood inside? No catalogued species. But the strangest thing was an electromagnetic field. Weak. Pulsating. Constant. Like a heartbeat. In the following days, everyone who had touched the Ark began to experience strange symptoms. Vivid dreams. Nosebleeds. Temporary blindness. One of the men fainted mid-sentence. When he woke up, he claimed he had heard voices, singing, from within the gold. Even so, they insisted on continuing. Until the government arrived. Within hours, they shut everything down. They cordoned off the area. They confiscated the equipment. They forced the team to sign strict confidentiality agreements. Satellite images of the site disappeared. As if the place had never existed. But one of the scientists, a technician named Daniel Knox, managed to escape. And with him, a copy of a scroll found near the chamber. Days later, Daniel posted a grainy video online, in which he described soldiers carrying the Ark to a lead-lined box marked only with a mysterious black symbol. The next day, his account was deleted. His phone was turned off. He was never seen again. But before he disappeared, Daniel sent a message to a friend in Jerusalem, along with a copy of that scroll. And what was written there would change everything. Because the text mentioned a second hiding place. A hidden place beneath the mountain where two temples had fallen. A place that could only mean one thing. The Temple Mount, in Jerusalem. No museum, no archaeological authority wanted to talk about it. But one name began to crop up repeatedly in the classified documents, Dr. Amiri Foster, a real-life archaeologist, rumored to have inspired the character Indiana Jones himself. Her final report described something as extraordinary as it was terrifying, a golden ark radiating energy, classified as dangerous and unfit for transport. But there was one disturbing detail. Foster's report ended abruptly. The last page was crossed out. The excavation site was classified, and the object was never mentioned again. Until something unexpected emerged. A retired U.S. government agent, exhausted by decades of secrecy and silence, sent an anonymous package to a journalist in Jerusalem named David Lowland. The contents? A single, blurry Polaroid photograph, showing a golden chest surrounded by men in biohazard suits. On the back of the image was a simple inscription, Sinai, 1968. Next to it was a map with marked circles, and one of those circles exactly matched a recent radar scan under the Temple Mount. Lowen was skeptical. But he acted quickly. Fearing interception, he secretly met with former employees, veteran archaeologists from Masada excavations, and even a former Vatican archivist who claimed to have seen similar images decades earlier. According to the agent's letter, the Ark had been moved at least 3 times since World War II. But now, it had been returned to its original chamber. Why? No one knew for sure. But the mystery didn't end there. Shortly afterward, an unmarked box appeared at the journalist's door. Inside were ancient coins, silver shekels from the Second Temple period. But something was wrong, the coins were intact, too perfect. As if they had never been buried, touched, or corroded by time. Along with the coins was a small piece of parchment with precise coordinates. David followed the trail, disguised as a surveyor. Upon arriving, he found an area clearly hastily sealed. The entrance had been filled with fresh concrete, as if someone wanted to hide something, too quickly. What remained at the site suggested that some object had been hastily removed. Abandoned equipment, signs of recent excavation. It didn't take long for rumors to spread. On the black market for artifacts, a Swiss collector had paid over $10 million for a relic that, according to the description, didn't belong to this world. And this trafficking didn't just involve archaeologists. There were intelligence agents, mercenaries, private contractors, all mobilized by something bigger than just history. Someone, somewhere, was collecting ancient energy sources. And one name began to surface with increasing frequency, an institution that, for centuries, denied any involvement. But these weren't just rumors. Secret documents were leaked from the Vatican archives, handed over by a former monk turned whistleblower. He claimed that the church had known of the Ark's location since the 10th century, and that several popes throughout history had sanctioned secret expeditions in search of it. Among these documents, a letter dated 1592 stood out. Addressed to a cardinal in Jerusalem, the letter spoke of a sacred flame, hidden beneath a stone, guarded by a blinding light. The Ark, according to the text, was not a myth, it was a living force, and its movement could trigger events beyond human comprehension. The Vatican's silence, then, was not an omission. It was a strategy. They knew what was hidden beneath that sacred land. And they were not the only ones. It was then that mysterious videos began to emerge, capturing something that defied both science and faith. The tunnels beneath Jerusalem, partly natural, partly excavated over millennia, form a veritable labyrinth. A group of independent researchers, using night vision devices and thermal cameras, ventured into these tunnels, and what they captured was breathtaking. Flashes of blue and white light appeared out of nowhere, with no known electrical source. No heat. Just pulses of light, like living plasma, coursing through the walls. During the recording, one of the men fainted, saying he felt a cold wave, like static electricity, pass through his body. He was later diagnosed with severe neurotrauma, even though he had no physical injuries. The recording was sent anonymously to David Lowen. He confirmed the video's authenticity. And when he slowed down the frames, he saw the impossible. In one of the flashes, the image revealed the subtle silhouette of the top of an ark, with winged figures, crowned by an inexplicable glow. Just an instant. But real. In the room next to the recording, something even more impossible was found. Among the ancient archives of the Ottoman Empire, in the dusty cellars of Istanbul, lay hand-drawn plans that revealed the existence of a secret inner chamber, a room that had never been officially excavated beneath the Temple Mount. And among the most deteriorated fragments, was a piece of parchment that matched the one found near the Ark. Everything was beginning to fit together. But what was to come would be even more disturbing. The final piece of this dark puzzle emerged from where no one expected it, an ancient parchment, now translated and studied in secret by experts. It described, with eerie precision, an underground room, not just any room, but a structure built specifically to contain something sacred and dangerous. Rooms of acoustic resonance. Smooth walls, polished like stone mirrors. Everything designed to reflect and confine sound, light, and energy. According to the text, this was no mere repository. It was a biblical Faraday cage, made to isolate and contain, what they called, Hal Elohim, the voice of God. A force that, according to the ancients, no mortal ear should ever hear. In the scroll's schematics, there was a warning, mechanisms, levers, and locks, all designed to contain the Ark of the Covenant should it become unstable. But the records indicated that these locks had failed. And then, the worst happened. A new team was sent to the site, for experienced archaeologists and 2 military personnel. All equipped, trained, with clear orders to enter, map, and document. They entered on a Monday. They never left. 2 days later, a rescue team arrived. And all they found were abandoned tools. No bodies. No signs of a struggle. No explanation. Just 6 lanterns, perfectly aligned in a circle. And in the center, a dark stain burned into the stone, which had not existed before the expedition. The security cameras recorded only the beginning of the mission. Then, silence. But the audio recording revealed something disturbing, whispers, barely audible, in an unknown language. Some experts swear it was ancient Aramaic. The chamber was immediately sealed with reinforced concrete by the Israeli government. But before that, one last attempt was made, long-range acoustic scanning. The result plunged the technicians into terror. low-frequency vibrations, with patterns similar to human speech. Phoneticians isolated and amplified the audio. What they heard were fragmented phrases in Hebrew, translated as, "Don't light the fire. He is watching." Some attributed it to interference. Others, residual energy. But there was a third, far more disturbing theory: what if it were an intelligence? Something alive. A consciousness sealed within the Ark, still active. This suspicion gained strength with the following discovery. In a recently revealed cave near the Dead Sea, archaeologists found new scrolls that mentioned 3 sacred vessels: a flame, a scroll, and a voice. The Ark of the Covenant was just one part of a larger whole. A triad. A divine mechanism that, when assembled, could awaken something incomprehensible. The scroll claimed that the Sviatok, a mysterious term that predates even the 10 Commandments, guarded the original laws, older than the tablets of Moses. The third part, the voice, was an enigma, until, deep within Mount Nebo, a relic was found covered in concentric circles and symbols identical to those engraved on the base of the Ark. This wasn't just a relic. It was part of a system. And then, as if something had been activated, reports began to emerge from around the world: lights in the sky, magnetic tremors, mass hallucinations at sacred and forgotten archaeological sites. What had been a scientific discovery began to take on cosmic proportions. For centuries, the Ark of the Covenant had been treated as a symbol, myth, or legend. But now, it was real. And it was active. This changed everything. For archaeologists. For historians. For religious leaders. For governments. But a disturbing question arose. What if the Ark wasn't made by human hands? What if it was left by something much older, or even extraterrestrial? The descriptions of fire running on wings, voices emerging from clouds, echo in ancient texts. But they also recall the unidentified aerial phenomena that continue to baffle modern scientists. So, if the Ark was a device, what was it created for? Some believe it was a weapon. Others, a communicator, a guardian, or a seal that imprisons something. But what if it was reactivated? What if, by doing so, we freed something? With each attempt to expose the truth, the consequences worsened. Journalists disappeared, informants silenced, theories shelved. A renowned researcher died mysteriously after publishing a paper linking the Ark to gamma-ray bursts. Government after government denied everything. But leaked documents revealed a pattern of silence and cooperation between rival powers. They weren't fighting over possession of the Ark. They were afraid of what it might do. And even more so, of who might come after it. And then came the final video. The climax of it all. A less than a minute-long clip, leaked from a sealed facility beneath Jerusalem. The image, the Ark of the Covenant floating, suspended in midair, with its symbols glowing like living fire on the surrounding walls. And right in the center of the room. A tear. A rupture in space. It wasn't shadow. Nor light. It was absence. A void. The camera shook. A loud buzzing sound filled the footage. And then, the screen went black. The message was clear. The Ark had awakened. Whether it was a call, or a warning, no one knew. But now, one thing is certain. The Ark of the Covenant was never lost. It was waiting. And now, I ask you, what if what we considered a myth was alive? What if the Ark of the Covenant is still waiting, not just to be found, but to be understood? If something inside you was touched by this story, write just one word in the comments. I woke up. That way, I'll know you felt it. Felt the call, felt the weight, felt the presence. And share this video with someone who needs to know that not all is lost. That there are sacred secrets waiting for those who have eyes to see and faith to continue. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and remember, what we discover here may be just the beginning.